In the United States, there are approximately 22 million millionaires, roughly 8.5% of all adults. But here is the number that changes the conversation. According to a 2023 study by Ramsey Solutions that surveyed 10,000 American millionaires, 79% of them did not receive an inheritance. They built it, and the 5 habits that show up in that group, across industries, income levels, and starting points, are measurably different from what the average household does with the same dollar. Today we are running the comparison. Before we get into the 5 habits, let us establish the frame for how we are comparing them, because the comparison that matters is not millionaire versus broke, it is millionaire versus average. These are not people who started from zero and built billions through extraordinary luck or timing. They are people who, starting from ordinary incomes, made consistently different decisions than the statistical average American household over a period of 10 to 30 years. The median household net worth in the United States in 2025 is approximately $192,700, according to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. The median age of an American millionaire is 61. That gap, between $192,700 and $1 million, accumulated between roughly age 25 and age 61, is not primarily explained by income differences. The Ramsey Solutions study found that 1/3 of millionaires never earned a 6-figure income in any single year of their working lives. A third built 7-figure net worth on 5-figure annual income through a set of decisions made consistently over decades. That is the comparison we are running, not the habits of billionaires or tech founders. The habits of the 79% of American millionaires who built wealth from ordinary starting points, and the specific ways those habits diverge from what the average American household does with the same resources. 5 habits, each one with the data and the math to show exactly what the habit is worth over a working lifetime. The first habit is the one that financial research most consistently identifies as the foundational difference, and it is the most straightforward to describe and the most difficult to sustain. Self-made millionaires pay themselves first, automatically. Before discretionary spending has any access to the paycheck, a defined percentage is routed to an investment account. This is not a philosophical commitment to saving. It is a structural decision, made once, that removes the investment from the realm of willpower and makes it automatic. The average American household saves approximately 4.6% of disposable income, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis data from 2025. The Ramsey Solutions survey of millionaires found that the most common savings rate among their respondents was 15% to 20% of gross income, consistently for decades. The difference between saving 4.6% and saving 15% of a $75,000 household income is $7,785 per year. Invested in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund at 8% average annual return over 30 years, that $7,785 annual difference compounds to approximately $960,000, nearly $1 million from the savings rate difference alone. The structural mechanism is critical here. The Millionaire Next Door, a research-based book by Dr. Thomas Stanley and William Danko, published in 1996, and validated by subsequent surveys, found that the majority of affluent Americans had automatic investment transfers set up that occurred on payday before spending decisions were made. They did not invest what was left over after expenses. They spent what was left over after investing. That sequence inversion is the first and most powerful habit in the comparison. The average household does the opposite. Income arrives, bills are paid, lifestyle spending occurs, and whatever remains, often nothing, is theoretically available for investing. In practice, the behavioral research consistently shows that money available for discretionary use gets spent on discretionary items. The only reliable mechanism for sustained investing is removing the decision from the monthly equation entirely. The second habit is the one that looks most different from the outside, because self-made millionaires often look nothing like what people expect wealthy people to look like. The Ramsey Solutions survey found that 94% of millionaires live on less than they earn, and the majority drive used cars. The most common vehicles driven by American millionaires in their survey were Toyotas and Fords, not luxury brands. The Millionaire Next Door research found that the majority of high net worth individuals lived in houses that cost significantly less than their financial profile would suggest they could afford. They consistently allocated more to assets that generate returns, index funds, rental properties, business ownership stakes, and less to assets that depreciate or signal status. The math on this is specific. A $55,000 new car, financed at 6.9% over 60 months, which is close to the national average auto loan rate in 2025, costs approximately $1,082 per month. Over 5 years, total payments are approximately $64,920 on an asset that will be worth approximately $22,000 by the end of the loan, a loss of value of approximately $33,000 on the vehicle, plus $9,920 in interest paid. The $451 monthly difference invested at 8% over 30 years is approximately $663,000. That is not the car payment comparison most people run. Most people compare the monthly payment and make the decision on whether they can afford it in the current month. Self-made millionaires, as a pattern, run the 30-year comparison, not because they are frugal or depriving themselves, but because they understand the compounding cost of status spending relative to asset accumulation. The average American spends approximately $5,111 per year on vehicle expenses, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey. Millionaires in the Ramsey research spent a significantly smaller fraction of their income on transportation relative to their investable net worth, prioritizing the gap between income and spending, not the visible lifestyle that income could support. But here is the third habit, and it is the one that separates the people who hit $1 million from the ones who hit $3 million. It has nothing to do with how much they earn, and everything to do with what they do with every raise, bonus, and windfall they receive. The third habit is the structural discipline that turns income growth into wealth acceleration rather than lifestyle expansion. And it is the habit that distinguishes the people who reach $1 million from the ones who compound past it. Lifestyle inflation is the primary mechanism by which income growth fails to produce proportional wealth growth. When income increases by $10,000 per year, the average household increases spending by a nearly equivalent amount within 6 to 12 months. New apartment, upgraded car, more frequent dining, additional subscriptions. The net worth improvement from the raise approaches zero because the lifestyle has absorbed it. The Federal Reserve's research on household net worth versus income shows a pattern that is stark at every income tier. Households in the top income quintile who invest a high percentage of income accumulate dramatically more wealth than households with similar incomes who spend at a high rate. Income is a necessary input. It is not a sufficient explanation for why net worth diverges so dramatically within the same income tier. The habit self-made millionaires demonstrate in survey after survey is the commitment to direct a specific percentage of every income increase to investments before adjusting lifestyle. Not half, not all, but a defined minimum. The Ramsey research found that millionaires frequently described following a version of this rule. When income increases, at least 50% of the net increase goes to investments or debt reduction before any lifestyle adjustment is made. Applied to a household earning $70,000 and receiving $5,000 raises every 3 years, if 50% of each raise is invested, $2,500 per year, and the other $2,500 funds lifestyle improvements, the compounding effect over a 30-year career is approximately $387,000 in additional investment value at 8% annual return. From the discipline of capturing half of each raise before spending any of it, the lifestyle still improves. It just improves at half the rate of income growth, which is the precise gap that separates net worth accumulation from net worth stagnation. The fourth habit is the one that gets dismissed most frequently as motivational filler. It is not. The data is specific. The Corley Change Your Habits, Change Your Life study, which tracked the daily habits of 233 wealthy individuals and 128 people who were struggling financially over 5 years, found that 88% of wealthy individuals read 30 minutes or more per day for self-improvement or education. Of the struggling group, only 2% did the same. The wealthy individuals in the study spent that reading time primarily on three categories: career skill development, financial knowledge, and biographies of high performers. This is not a correlation between reading and luck. It is a correlation between continuous learning and the ability to recognize and exploit opportunities, avoid expensive mistakes, and make better decisions under pressure. The CEO who understands tax-advantaged accounts makes different retirement planning decisions than the one who does not. The business owner who understands cash flow forecasting makes different operational decisions than the one who manages by intuition. The investor who understands historical market behavior makes different decisions during a market correction than the one who is acting on emotion and incomplete information. Warren Buffett, who represents the extreme end of this habit, has publicly described spending 5 to 6 hours per day reading. Charlie Munger, his business partner, described his mental model system as a direct product of voracious reading across disciplines. The National Study of Millionaires by Ramsey Solutions found that 68% of millionaires cited formal education in personal finance as a significant factor in their wealth building, not necessarily college education, but deliberately sought financial literacy, including books, courses, and mentors. The practical daily difference is approximately 30 minutes. 30 minutes per day of reading about personal finance, investing, business, or career development over a 30-year period is approximately 5,475 hours of compound knowledge, roughly equivalent to 2.7 years of full-time work invested in developing better financial judgment. The average American, by contrast, spends approximately 4.5 hours per day on leisure screen time, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics American Time Use Survey data. The distinction is not between people who have free time and people who do not. It is between people who direct free time toward compound knowledge building and people who do not. And now the fifth habit, which is the one that most personal finance content gets backwards. It is not about making more money. It is about protecting what you have already built from the single largest threat of one-term wealth accumulation. The fifth habit is adequate risk management, specifically the consistent maintenance of insurance coverage and an emergency fund at every stage of the wealth-building process. This is the habit that does not build wealth directly. It prevents wealth from being destroyed. The average American household has approximately 3.9 months of emergency fund coverage, according to the Federal Reserve's 2025 Survey of Consumer Finances. A significant minority have none. 37% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. Self-made millionaires in survey research consistently maintain substantially more liquid reserves, not because they are fearful, but because they understand that forced asset liquidation at the wrong time is one of the most reliable mechanisms for permanent wealth destruction. Here is the specific math. In March 2020, the S&P 500 dropped approximately 34% in 33 days. A household with no emergency fund that lost a job during that period was forced to sell investments at the bottom to cover expenses. They locked in the loss. A household with 12 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account could wait. By August 2020, 5 months later, the S&P 500 had fully recovered. The household with the emergency fund captured the full recovery. The household without it sold at the bottom and participated in none of it. The difference in outcome on a $100,000 portfolio, approximately $34,000 from a single market event, driven entirely by whether the emergency fund existed. Self-made millionaires also consistently carry adequate insurance at every stage, not luxury policies, but specifically the coverages that protect against catastrophic outcomes. A $200,000 liability lawsuit, a major medical event without adequate health coverage, or a disability that removes income for 2 years, can each eliminate a decade of accumulated wealth in a single event. The Federal Reserve data shows that medical debt is the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States, and bankruptcy erases wealth at any stage of accumulation. The National Study of Millionaires found that 96% of millionaires described themselves as consistent and disciplined in protecting assets against downside risk, not through excessive caution in investments, where they actually take on more risk than average through equity ownership, but through structural protection of their financial foundation through insurance, emergency funds, and estate planning. Let us run the complete side-by-side comparison of every habit across both profiles. Average American household saves 4.6% of income, spends on lifestyle first and invests what remains, upgrades lifestyle at the rate of income growth, spends approximately 4.5 hours per day on leisure screen time with minimal self-education, maintains 3.9 months of emergency fund with spotty insurance coverage. Self-made millionaire saves 15% to 20% of income from day one via automatic transfer, buys assets first, and limits status spending relative to investable net worth, directs at least 50% of every income increase to investments before lifestyle adjusts, reads 30 minutes per day for self-education in finance and skill development, maintains 12+ months of emergency reserves and comprehensive risk protection. The compounding outcome of those 5 habit differences, applied to the same $75,000 household income for 30 years at 8% average annual return, is the gap between a net worth of $192,700, the current median, and approximately $1.5 million to $2 million, not because of income, because of 5 systematic behavioral differences applied consistently over 3 decades. Here is the specific takeaway. The 79% of American millionaires who built their wealth without inheritance did not do so through exceptional income, exceptional luck, or exceptional talent. They did so by making 5 behavioral decisions consistently over time: investing automatically before spending, buying assets instead of status signals, capturing income growth in investments before lifestyle adjusts, building financial knowledge through daily reading, and protecting their financial foundation against catastrophic risk. None of those require a high income to start. 1/3 of American millionaires never had one. They require discipline, structure, and time. And the earliest possible version of that structure, the automated investment transfer, the decision to drive a reliable used car instead of a financed luxury vehicle, the 30 minutes of financial reading today, is available at any income level. The number that matters most is not $1 million. It is how wide the gap is between your income and your spending, and whether that gap is growing or shrinking. Everything else is just time and compounding.